In this Elden Ring guide, I'll show you some of my favorite rune farming spots for the early, mid, and late game, as well as a guide to obtain the Golden Scarab Talisman from the Abandoned Cave in Caelid. Important timestamps for each section can be found in the description below. Let's get started. Our early game rune farming spot starts off at Warmaster Shack in Limgrave, where we can travel south to an area with 5 trolls that award 1,000 runes each. Once we defeat all of the trolls, you'll net 5,000 runes, and you can fast travel back to the Warmaster Shack and repeat the process. After killing your last troll, just fast travel back to the Warmaster Shack where you can restart the process. It is worth noting that, as you get stronger and you level up, this farm does become easier and easier. So don't get discouraged if you get steamrolled a few times. Next up is our mid-game farm location outside the Bestial Sanctum in Caelid. The easiest way to get there is from the Third Church of Marika, where we can find a teleporter nearby. Once you arrive, be sure to grab the Site of Grace inside the Bestial Sanctum before you begin. From there, we can follow the route shown here on the map to kill the Vulgar Militiamen, which award 1,094 runes each. Each run should net you a little bit more than 18,000 runes. And once you're done, just fast travel back to the Bestial Sanctum to repeat the process. Next up, we're going to get the Golden Scarab Talisman from the Abandoned Cave in Caelid. From the smoldering wall side of Grace, head east until you run to a canyon, and then we're going to find a way to jump across the canyon down into a cave on the other side. The Golden Scarab Talisman is great because it increases the runes that you acquire by 20%, and when we're doing these rinse-repeat kind of rune farms, it's going to save us a lot of time. One of the biggest challenges is actually right here at the beginning of the Abandoned Cave, and we want to be able to traverse that Scarlet Rot that's right there. Now, in order to do this quickly, the best way really is to just jump backwards into the lake and keep jumping backwards all the way to the very end. And there's an abductor on the left. That's kind of what you're aiming for. So if you don't make it all the way, you can walk there. Just be sure to not get a full dose of Scarlet Rot. Next, we're going to apply that same strategy right here, and I'm just going to wait out the Scarlet Rot just to be on the safe side. We're going to jump down right here, and once we make that jump, we're going to run down that tunnel, and we will not stop running until we get to the boss at the end of the cave. Once you made it to the end of the tunnel, buff up and take on the 2 Cleanrot Knights. If you're around level 35 and you've got a fairly upgraded weapon, it should be a pretty easy fight. Another popular spot is farming Greyoll outside of Fort Faroth. In order to turn Greyoll into a farm location, you need any weapon that has blood loss buildup. He has a pretty large health pool, so that blood loss will speed things up greatly. The trick to making this a repeatable farm is to run back to Fort Faroth's Site of Grace immediately after Greyoll dies. You'll still be warded the 50,000 runes, and Greyoll will still be there for you to kill again. One more tip is to also stay mounted the entire time, so once Greyoll does die, you can just run back as quickly as possible. It is worth mentioning that if you don't make it back to the Site of Grace in time, Greyoll will die and you will not be able to repeat this farm. So just be extra cautious about that and make your way back as quickly as you can. If you have the Golden Scarab Talisman equipped, you will be awarded 60,000 runes, as opposed to the 50. For our late game farm, we need to begin Varre's questline. After speaking to Varre at the First Steps, Site of Grace and Limgrave, and defeating Godric the Grafted, Varre will be at the Rose Church in Liurnia of the Lakes. After speaking through his dialogue, he will give you several festering bloody fingers. Use these to invade other players 3 times to progress the questline. Once you're done, talk to Varre and he will give you the Lord of Blood's favor quest item. The next step is to travel to the 4 Belfries in western Liurnia, and what we're going to do is fast travel to the Precipice of Anticipation from there. Once you arrive, pick up the Imbued sword key and head east from there to the Precipice of Anticipation teleporter. Just be sure to check the signs on the ground to make sure that you're at the Precipice of Anticipation. You don't want to use that key on the wrong teleporter. After teleporting, you'll be able to fight the Grafted Scion that kicked your butt at the beginning of the game. just be sure that you're like around level 35 or 40, just to make it a little bit easier of a fight. You can do it earlier, just depending on your skill. Once you defeated the Grafted Scion, head south into the castle. Once you enter the castle, on the left you'll see a maiden on the ground, and you can dye the cloth with that maiden's blood right there. Optionally, if you'd like to complete Nepheli's questline, you can go to the other side of the castle and pick up the Stormhawk King key. And inside you'll also be able to get a summon that you can use as well. Once you're done, head back to Rose Church in Liurnia to speak to Varre. After speaking through his dialogue, he's going to go ahead and cut off your finger and give it back to you because he's such a nice guy.
Oh, good heavens. Clench your teeth or something.
Okay, put your finger back in your pocket and speak to him one more time, and he will give you the Pureblood Knight's Medal. The Pureblood's Knight's Medal will teleport you to the Mohgwyn Palace, and Varre is going to remind you not to use it right away, so naturally, we're going to go to our inventory and we're going to use it right away. Once you arrive to Mohgwyn Palace, be sure to pick up the map that's nearby. Next, we're going to follow this path on the map, and we're just going to run the entire way, avoiding all enemies that we encounter. The reason why is that this is a very high level area, and if you're level 40 like this character is, there's a good chance that you'll just get one shot. Once you make it to that Lake of Blood, you can then hop on Torrent and ride the rest of the way. Once you make it to the end, grab the Site of Grace, and then you're going to make your way over to Round Table Hold to buy a bow. When you buy the bow, don't worry about the stat requirements if you don't meet them, it's still going to work just fine. Next, head over to the Church of Ella and buy arrows from the merchant Caelid. We are ready to begin, so fast travel back to the Palace Approach Ledge Road and equip your bow and arrow and Golden Scarab Talisman, and shoot that bird that's over at the edge of the cliff. He will run off the cliff like a big dum-dum, and you'll be awarded with 13,245 runes. Run back to the Site of Grace and rinse repeat. After beating the game, you'll have the option of picking up the Sacred Relic Sword, and it has an Ash of War in there called Waves of Gold. And once you use Waves of Gold, it makes this farm even better. So here's one of my guys using Waves of Gold. You just cast this a couple times, and you can farm Albinaurics all day long doing this. As an early alternative, you could use the Blasphemous Blade, although it does take a little bit more work to kill all of the Albinaurics in that area. Alright, I think that covers everything. Hey, I just want to say thanks to all of you guys for hanging in there. I know there's a lot of other places you can go to get the same content, so I appreciate you hanging out to the very end. And if you found this video useful, please give us a like and subscribe. It goes a long way in helping us build the channel. Until next time.